Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe, and you're checking out Weekend at Gabe's, and thanks for checking out this latest episode. While you're here, also follow us on these social medias at Weekend Gabe, at Weekend at Gabe's, and also at The Real Sam Crane. Thanks for checking us out. But joining us now here on Weekend at Gabe's, Mr. Fred Jones, broadcasting live with us. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. How you guys doing?
We appreciate it so much. I hope you enjoyed news with us. We try to have a little bit of fun, so we find goofy stories to make fun of. But you, sir, are here for a very serious project that we are all looking forward to and all excited about. 1921, the Black Wall Street Music Project. You and Mr. Thornell Jones are working on. Is he going to be joining us? I thought he was, but I guess he's not.
Yeah, he should be joining us.
Okay.
I guess any second now, but we can go ahead and proceed if you like.
Oh, fantastic. All right, no worries. We'll loop him in if he's able to hop on.
Yeah,
It's not a problem at all.
we're on the
But
satellite. He can catch up, right?
Oh yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you giving us your time. This you guys have already begun to make some movement on this. This obviously the event is getting a lot of traction in the media. I can't turn on the TV without someone reminding me or telling me that there's a new documentary about what happened in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It seems like we went from nobody knowing about it to it being the thing that we can't go anywhere without talking about. Last week,
Yeah.
I think it was three surviving survivors of the Tulsa massacre were on the steps of Congress asking for more investigations into what had happened. There's documentaries on CNN, MSNBC, NBC. I think LeBron James is putting one together. It's such a remarkable story, and it does deserve the attention as well. And you guys are also going to add your contributions to this as well. But point blank, like, how important is it for us to finally acknowledge what happened in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
I think that it's very important for us to acknowledge what happened. You can't start healing without first having conversation. You can't start healing without first, realizing that, it was a tragedy. 10 years ago, it was called a riot. It's only a riot if you fight back.
Yeah,
So
exactly right.
it was a complete massacre. Yeah. So I'm glad, we've got some working things here in Tulsa. I'm born and raised here, man, and I'm the webmaster for the Oklahoma Eagle newspaper, which is the oldest family-owned publication in the United States. I was aware of the tragedy that happened, but in high school, I went to the number one high school in the state, Booker T. Washington. We were never taught or never spoke to about the race massacre. I get to around 40 years old, and I'm hearing conversations, and I asked my grandmother about it. My great great aunt is one of the survivors, and just the conversations that are now coming forth about the tragedies, and the mob couldn't get ammunition from the military, so they created kerosene bombs, which is why everything burnt up. Me and my one of my colleagues the other day, I'm on Greenwood every day, and we were just thinking, how do you get a kerosene ball in the air? How do you light it and take it off without the plane catching on fire? You know what I mean? It's just so it was planned. It was planned long before it happened. There was some massacres across the country in 1919, and from 1913 on, I think there was some tragedies such as this Rosewood,
Right.
St. Louis,
Yep.
and some other cities. Um, but with us being Black Wall Street, with us being independent, with us, not the dollar didn't leave unless it went to the train. They say 35 times, 37 times, as much as 45, but the dollar didn't leave the community until it went to the train to buy more supplies. So the train tracks really divided white and white and black Tulsa. And then there was people were so affluent and making so much money, on Black Wall Street that the maids, the cleaning people and all that worked predominantly for people of color. So that was another reason, for jealousy. But it was all over money. We all know now, from history that there was no incident on the elevator. They actually were lovers and moved to, I think, Kansas City and got married. Uh, never to be seen again. So, it starts with the city acknowledging, that hey, this was a tragedy. This did happen, and then it starts also with us as African Americans, those descendants, whether direct or indirect, having a forgiving heart, but we're not forgetting. And reparations do need to come forth. And that, when people say, well, we can't go back, yeah, but we can go forward. And
Right.
we can, start small business incubators and a lot of things for people that are from the community. There's an effort from, one of our philanthropists here to bring, people from all over the country to Tulsa to move here and start up, and they give them like 10,000 to do it, and we're just like, hey, what about the millennials, especially that are already here? We're looking over our own to bring other people in. Not saying that those people aren't qualified, but um, back in the church that I grew up in, it was a little old lady that used to say, "It's a poor frog that don't praise his own pond." So
Hmm.
I know you guys are young. You're looking at me like, okay, but you got to be. I mean, sometimes you look around and the thing is in your backyard, that you need the most to make it move forward or to make progress happen. So we just want to see, our individuals, especially the millennials, get a chance at, being creative, entrepreneurial efforts, being enhanced to make a better, community, a better Tulsa, and a better Oklahoma.
I wanted to ask a little bit because you're from there and because the project is so Tulsa centered, and you obviously you have relatives who descended from that day. Does the new attention bother you at all? I've seen some talk on Twitter, sort of from people more my age who live in Tulsa, who are like, you know, stop dragging out the ancestors for these performative things. But is it like, does it reach a boiling point with you, or do you feel like any attention is good attention, and
Well, it's just time. It's not something that's been forced down anyone's throat. This was something that was hidden, something that was concealed,
Right.
something that was tucked away, and something that was never talked about.
Right.
So, I can understand, an individual that's 19 years old all of a sudden saying, "Hey, what's all this race massacre stuff?" And what's all this and da da da. And I'm the first group. They put 12 blacks and 12 whites in prefabs in 1972, and I'm one of those 12 blacks. So, I basically my entire life has been integrated. But for when you look at the pictures and the devastation, and you realize that if the economy generated $35 million in 19, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, how much economy would that be generating now?
Right.
What would the community be worth now? It could be worth 4, 5, 6 billion dollars at the minimum. So,
Right.
to say, hey, we want to forget about this and move forward. No, what we want to do is we want to move forward, but we also want some restoration. We want some reparations, and we want some dialect about, what's happened. There's a
right,
big thing now about the graves. Where are the people buried at? Well, we know that the people are buried all throughout the community. Some under the expressway, some in the graveyards. Um, we know that. So my question is, why are we spending, all of this money uh, uh, instead of saying, hey, let's take 20 of our best entrepreneurs from the community. Let's put them in small business incubators and let's help them, make money, because that's what Black Wall Street was about. It was about barter, exchange, making money. Continuous trade among the cleaners, from the cleaners to the restaurant, from the restaurant to the liquor store, from the liquor store to the different entities that a community such as that possessed. Everything was right there, 35 blocks, totally destroyed to the ground. So what I beg to differ with some people saying, "Hey, let's forget about it." You can't forget about it.
Right.
It was
I think
blood raw.
people were more not saying let's forget about it, but almost where were you? Why
Right.
2021 and not 2015? Why not 1990? That was the discourse. More so than let's forget about this and put it in the past.
Right. Well, in America, we like numbers. We like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Our class reunions. You know what I'm saying? Your birthday parties, you have a way bigger party. After 21, you start saying, okay, when I'm 25. And then when I'm 30, I'm going to have a big one. And then I wait to 40. So that's what we like as Americans. So,
Right.
with the commemoration approaching as it did, and, the year prior with Trump coming, on Juneteenth, it just kind of set us up for, this moment. But, like we're trying to do with the music, I want to see it bring healing. And music is the one place where people of all races and all colors can come together and have a good time. Music and sports are two of the places where, we can really come together no matter what color, pull for our team, love a song, love a band, you know what I mean? So to me, that's where we're trying to go with what we're doing in 1921, the Black Wall Street Music Project.
Yeah.
Let's get into that because I know that's why you're here, and we appreciate all the backdrop of what being in Tulsa and being a resident of that community, and how it's affected you. And there's so much there's so many questions I have. But I really want to get into the project and that it's upcoming. You guys have a number of phenomenal guests. It's heavy guests. Talk about sort of the orchestration of how this project is being designed, and what the messaging and how you guys were involved in, like either crafting particular songs or letting the artists themselves kind of let the moment decide how they wanted to create music to reflect the incident. Like take us a little bit into sort of that engineering of the upcoming project.
Well, about 4 years ago, I was sitting in my office at the newspaper, and a friend of mine, Guy Troop, who's a former NFL executive, he said, "Well, man, what are you going to do for the Race Massacre commemoration?" And I said, "Well, there's so much going on with the documentaries, and that time we started kind of learning about, hey, there are going to be 20 documentaries." Especially I was getting a lot of emails from, different places, from CNN, Dubai, and just places all over the world, trying to position themselves to speak with individuals. And I have a musical background. My high school teammate, college roommates, a guy named Wayman Tisdale, and we were with the Phoenix Suns, and he signed a jazz deal with Motown.
Right.
So, and that's where I met Thornell some 20 years ago. I just thought, hey man, I'm gonna put together a music project. We're gonna, at that time I was calling it the Black Wall Street Music Collective, which some people still call it now. I started just like looking at artists. I've done a lot of different community events, and most of those events, I usually tie, celebration afterwards to it. So I've used a lot of local bands of people that are sort of my age, but and I'm only 57. I'm not that old, but I'm old enough. I was sitting over a guy's house again one night. We were just kind of, refreshing ourselves over the week, and he said, "Man, have you heard this?" And he hands me a CD, and it's O'Malley Bailey, and it's 1921 Unsung. And he had 8 songs that were dedicated to the riot. And I said, "Oh man, this is it. This is it." So I said, "Well, you can't have the CD back." So I saw O'Malley. I saw him at a baseball game or something. I was like, "Look, man, I'm doing this project. Yada 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 yada. I gotta have you." So I just started kind of combing through different individuals that I thought would be good enough for the project, and I wanted to make sure that I had integration in the project. So contacted Taylor Hanson, who's a great individual. The Hanson family there, been nominated for 3 Grammys and got a huge following. Taylor's on the project. Majesty Pearson, Carlton Pearson, the great Pastor Carlton Pearson, his daughter, who was on The Voice or one of those shows similar to that. And I think she came in like third. So she's incredible. I have Lester Shaw Jr., who sang with Lester sang with Nile Rodgers and sang at the White House. He's phenomenal. He's one of those guys with the big afro and the beard, and the women they just love him to death, man. And I didn't really want to, because there's another project that has a lot of rap. So I went and found a guy that I grew up with, what we would call OG rappers, and kind of told him what I wanted just from a rap perspective. D-Rob, Robert Daniels, and Fred Frierson, they call him Freddie Fry. They delivered exactly what we asked for. I wanted like some Dre, Snoop type stuff that people could just, play at a picnic. I wanted to make sure that the record was not cussing and fussing because I think enough of that's been done. You
Sure.
can put 5 people in the room and start talking about the massacre, and somebody's going to, say something that somebody else doesn't like. And that's just the nature of it because it's a huge platform and there's a lot to be said and a lot to be understood. But Cody Ransom, who's a spoken word poet. So, it's interesting. We were doing meetings. Once I contacted Thornell and say, hey, man, I got to have you help me on this project. He just bit into it. Sometimes, we have a little activist in us that, we don't know until something like this comes along. And he and Allison at the Ovation Agency have just been incredible. But I trust him. I trust him with my contracts and verbiage and dialogue. He's a great guy. We couldn't be where we were without Thornell or Allison. But we got Dane Arnold, who's like a Steely Dan, old school type cat. That's really cool. We've got Cody, of course, Cody Ransom. So the story about Cody. We were meeting, and we had a couple of meetings where we flew Thornell in, and we just wanted to talk to the artists about contracts and things like that. Just educating. We wanted to make sure we did everything on Black Wall Street. Cody's a great spoken word poet. He's from the community, but he moved to Africa when he was young, and then moved back around 13 or 14. So he's really cultured and really well versed, in both the United States, but also in Africa. So we said, hey, let's just write all these names on the board, man, of famous people from Oklahoma, from Cornell West to Wayman to
Mhm.
what's that, Carrie Underwood to Blake Shelton. I mean, we just put a bunch of names. Shay Seals, one of our great kids, kids Shay's my age, but he played for the Lakers. So we came up with like 30 names, man. And Cody said, okay, I'm going to go make it a song. And he comes back the next day and he's speaking, and I'm like, man, you got every person in there. So then, of course, we had to add some names. The great Olympian Kenny Mundy. The 88 Olympics he won a gold, and I think 92 he won a silver.
Wow.
But that song is just incredible from Cody, Oklahoma made. So we have my teammate Wayman Tisdale. We got a couple of songs from Wayman that are there. We got a song called Tulsa Chillin', which was one of the last songs he worked on prior to his passing, which is very sentimental to us all. We also have Mr. Washington Rucker, who's 85 years old, a great musician who's played all over the world, and he's from Tulsa. And the song is called Velvet Dancer, and he wrote it in 1958 in Paris. And it's he's spent all that time in Paris. He's like, yeah, I had a lover in Paris, and I wrote this song about it called Velvet Dancer. And I'm like, okay, man. So we all heard it, fell in love with it. So it's, we even, have that Washington Rucker, 85-year-old. And it's a great song for jazz lovers, for salsa lovers also. It's an up tempo. So we're just excited, man. There's just so much to offer, and we're looking forward to getting out in the United States. You know, there are Black Wall Streets everywhere, so we'll be coming to cities all over the country. Looking forward to HBCU tours, and we've already got an event that we're playing at the Super Bowl in LA. You know, we're going to do the Wayman Tisdale Foundation golf tournament. We're going to be the entertainment for that here. You know, we're looking to the Apollo in New York, and a lot of different things on the horizon, man. So we're going to release 2 more singles on Juneteenth here in Tulsa. We're going to release them on all digital platforms, but Cody will be performing at Juneteenth here, and we're also going to release another one, D-Rob and Fred, which is called For Black Wall Street. And then we're going to get into, you know, dropping the digital portion, and then from there we'll move to the commemorative album portion, which will be out probably around Labor Day. So we got our work cut out for us, but you know, we prepared for this, and with an industry veteran such as Thornell and Allison, along with my wife Shifley and Guy Troop, NFL executive, former NFL executive. I think we've got a great team that will help us to soar to the highest heights that we can obtain. And I just believe that, you know, we made this record for such a time as this. I never would have thought in my career that I'd be back in Tulsa doing the centennial and be on Greenwood and to see the new buildings coming up, and, you know, dealing with, you know, anytime you're making moves, like it's being made in Tulsa, there's a little controversy, but it just makes you dot your I's and cross your T's and make sure that there's periods on everything where it's supposed to be. So, you know, as we navigate through the things that we must, you know, and we watch the other entities pull their things together, we just hope to continue to support each other, because that's what Black Wall Street did. You know, Black Wall Street was self-sufficient. So, you know, we'd like to be the Black Wall Street of the future, and not so much be, you know, just on Greenwood, but we want Greenwood to be the door to Tulsa, not just the door to the north side, but we want it to be the doorway to the entire city.
Phenomenal. Mr. Fred Jones, I appreciate you joining us here on Weekend at Gabe's to talk about the upcoming 1921, the Black Wall Street Music Project, which you can follow on blackwallstreetmusic.com. And you can also follow him on these socials at 1921 BWSNP. We appreciate you so much for dropping by. We can't wait to hear the new music this month, and also when the album comes out later this summer. That should be pretty fun.
All right. Can I say something before I go?
Yeah.
You most really can.
Boomer. Just in case you guys are in Texas, you know what I'm saying? Hey.
Yeah.
Always a little boomer, man.
I hear you.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. Have a good evening.
Okay, man. All
right, that's Fred Jones from the Black Wall Street Music Project. I wish we had so much more time, because
we need like 4 days, you know. And
Fred, we're gonna reach out to you, and we got more questions.
No, for real, we would need 4 days, because I got a whole list of questions. We got like 3 of them off, you know. But it's incredible.
A lot of stuff that I had thought I was gonna ask him, like he filled in like the gaps.
No. Yeah, he gave us everything. But like, you know, when you dig into it and you see all the artists involved, the plethora of people who's got involved, it's really, really an extensive, well thought out, and well executed project. So shout out all those guys. Go follow them on the social medias and stay up with them. Juneteenth, 2 new records coming.
Hey, I'm Weekend Gabe. Thanks for checking out this latest episode of Weekend at Gabe's. Click on any of the links swirling around my head, and also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Thanks for checking out us here on YouTube.